Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everybody. I know that the screen is frozen, but I really actually enjoy this this shot that we have. I like the contrast. I like my red hat. I like Eric's blue shirt, and it really is just us hanging out here. So if you enjoy the lighting that we have in this picture, and if you enjoy the sound of our voices, stick around, because we were having a very lovely conversation until I realized you guys weren't hearing us. But we're gonna. I'm gonna try. Can we start from the top?
I'm ready.
All right. It's theater, man. It's theater.
That was the dress rehearsal.
So, speaking of theater, I'm not sure if everybody knows, but this is B. Pharaoh of the Gangstagrass crew, your fiddling Pharaoh, and I am here with a good friend of mine that I just met at this wonderful production that I'm a part of this March. We're doing the recording or filming of it right now, and it is oh man, where do I start? We're at the Woolly Mammoth Theater, great theater in DC. We've quarantined, gotten all prepared to come to this. We're getting tested every other day for this, and it is a tight-knit crew of people, and it's really, really lovely music. Heather Christian is this wonderful playwright in New York now, but out of Natchez, Mississippi. And she's written this play about her family in Natchez. And man, I said this way better the first time. So it's a really cool play about sorry, I'm laughing really hard because I really
No, you nailed it the first time.
I nailed it.
I'm trying to get back there with you. Those were great moments.
Yeah,
the audience missed out on. But let's reflect on a moment about the way that sound works, right? It's like, sound is not, it's not necessarily like there's something about sound that like qualitatively makes a promise of localization. And so like the fact that even there are people who are, eavesdropping in on our conversation here, where are we on 10th Street Northwest in Washington, D.C., at this moment is remarkable, and I think is sort of like almost like in some way betrays the the holiness of sound in some ways, In other ways, it's beautiful because we're able to make this incredible connection.
I mean,
but just reflect on. I think this is a moment where it's like the sound that you emitted from your body.
Yeah,
I got to hear. We thought everybody else was hearing it. We were talking like everybody was hearing it, and it was great. And then it wasn't heard, and it's gone. We don't know what you said. It wasn't recorded. I don't have that great of a memory. I felt what you said.
Yeah.
I remember feeling it.
Yeah.
But the words are gone. And,
yeah.
And I think that's our craft. B.
Yeah.
B and I pedal in those wares.
I know as a songwriter, I've done so much. Like, I like to play without putting a recorder on, and creating that way, and like taking an evening to create music and see what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of always going back and I think there's something something reverent about letting those things go sometimes. Something that's more humble.
Yeah. I mean, something I'm realizing in this process I guess what's funny is that maybe your audience doesn't fully understand our process, but
No,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
I feel like our audience is full of
Yeah.
nerds. The Gangstagrass crew is full of nerds, and I feel like I hope you all are enjoying this this new conversation that we've gotten ourselves on, and this the meta nature of sound. I think we can go there, so please continue.
Oh, well, what I was going to say, I had a realization today. B and I are in a process where we're making a film in a very sort of like laborious way inside of a theater. It's a real hybrid form because of the current situation where we would otherwise, we were about to actually do this for an audience. You knew that, right? Like we were supposed to do it at Woolly Mammoth and then go to American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And all that stuff got canceled, and now we're making a film instead. And so we're sort of like having to take a new look at this show and see how to make it. And so I don't come from a background of making films. I haven't done it.
Yeah,
we were just talking about that.
This is a new experience for both of us, and I mean, just getting behind the camera sometimes, it looks beautiful. It really.
Oh, you mean when you look at what's being shot?
Because we're not all being filmed at the same time constantly. This is a
shot by shot
situation.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be more like. More like The Last Waltz, where it's like there's like a bunch of cameras and you play through the songs and like maybe you do a couple again to like fill in the blanks or take a couple new shots, but I wasn't really expecting.
But everybody has their run. Everybody's on their run to get certain shots, and it's pretty much live. Right.
In that kind of version, yeah. But in our version, it's like we do a shot and then cut, and then we do a shot and then cut. And it's really getting patched together, and I think it's going to be really beautiful. You're right, and the way that it looks, extraordinary. The thing that I realized was that, the camera is really like. Heather has a line about when you that everybody has a kind of bank for their energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's where the energy goes when the feelings get spent. It goes into a bank in your heart, and
yeah, I love that line.
That line at the end, and I kind of had this vibe about the camera being the bank. It's like, at least for us in this moment, like I found these like I have several like kind of like viscerally profound moments in that show where I have to like kind of get feely.
Mm-hmm.
And I would do that and get like way deep into a moment, and then it's cut, and it's like, whoa, I have to like catch my breath for a second, and it feels like I just released a bunch of energy into the room that was captured by the camera, and the camera is the bank for that energy, and it's getting stored on a hard drive somewhere, and then it gets transmitted to an audience eventually after editing and processing and all those things.
Yeah, one of the beautiful things about this, Heather Christian is the songwriter and the playwright of this particular production, and I'm also really loving the shot by shot nature of it, because the subject matter is about her family. It's about the ghost of her family. She inherited a trait in her family where she has a deep connection to the beyond, to seeing and understanding these supernatural things around her as the ghost of her family. And the way we're doing this really evokes that otherworldly nature. I love the lighting work of it, and her acting like she is. I mean, it's her, but when she gets into a part, I always forget like that's her first time, or I feel like it's her first time saying it, always. And it's funny how she gets in and out of the parts all the time. It's very evocative. It's very, it hits you in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
She's putting a lot into that camera. And I feel like we're all putting a lot into this film right now because it's really great emotional music, and she has a beautiful story with her family. And Eric, I first met Eric in this production, and I walk over to his station where he has his, not just his set, but a whole array of bells, bits and bobs, boxes, chimes, sconches, old metal sconches. And I noticed one day I really picked up on a tone that he had on the drums, and it was just he was pretty aggressive. Like the hits were heavy, but it was a softer, shorter tone, and I liked it. I really liked it. And I looked at his drumsticks, and they were these, like, it looked like these metal sticks, and they were
knitting needles, size 8 knitting needles that my mom gave me about 12 years ago. When I first got, actually I stole it. I stole the idea from an old teacher of mine, Kevin Norton. He used to have knitting needles in his stick bag.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, knitting needles. And I feel like I found just the right ones. I kind of rummaged through my mom's collection, really from the key that I found is that they don't make it like they used to. And it's just the damn truth. It's like, you find a pair of knitting needles from the 70s that are metal.
Yeah.
You can use them as drumsticks for 12 years, in like hundreds of shows.
I mean,
on other giant pieces of metal, and they're not bent at all. They're really doing great. Those things are going to last me forever.
But do they break the drums? Do they hurt the drums?
Mm-hmm. No, you see how I'm playing on.
Yeah.
No, it's soft. I mean, yes, if I stabbed the drum with it, I'm sure that I would puncture it. But it's I'm hitting it, just like a stick. So I'm hitting it, from the side.
Yeah.
I think Kevin was more of a kind of avant-garde conceptual jazz drummer, and so I think that he was like, really like playing jazz around the kit with it.
Yeah.
I'm mostly hitting strange pieces of metal with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are metal, and they're kind of like these weird alien probes, because they make resonant things resonate.
They make things resonate.
Yeah, they're it's I imagine it's aluminum. They're lightweight.
And the first time I really heard an example of this, he was playing these metal sconches, and the tone was it was such a big tone, and it rang really clear throughout the hall we were filming it, and it sounded like I'm not sure if you all out there are familiar with these triangles they use in New Orleans. They're these big metal triangles, like a triangle, the instrument. And they take a metal poker and they play in the corner of it, and it gets this really resonant tone, and it's like tiki 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 tiki. I'm not sure if that's the right side of the beat, but I think you get the idea. But it sounded just as resonant, and these sconches were smaller metal pieces. They're these smaller square things.
They're round.
Aren't they different shapes?
There's a few different shapes for sure. The one you're talking about, it's kind of round. It's interesting. It's deeply ornate. It's like the inside of it is threaded, so you can attach. It's like the base for the sconce, so you can really thread it in there. It's like lighting hardware from the 20s. But the outside is like very ornate, and it actually makes almost it's almost like a kind of cruciform shape, or it's kind of a square, but it has round edges. I guess.
Yeah.
It's a weird shape. It's very ornate.
But it is extremely ornate.
But I've got a bunch of them. I just been collecting. I've been collecting a lot of stuff for a long time, but those in particular, when I come across a box in a junk shop or in an antique store, I'll rummage through and find the ones that are resonant. A lot of them are thin, tin. but some of them are bronze and
I think it was bronze, the one you were using. Right? Yeah. I didn't know bronze had a tone like that, honestly.
Yeah.
I also saw something online. You had this sort of xylophone setup, but there was a semitonal system to it. I went to Eric's website to check out some of his stuff, and you know what? Now I think I don't have all of Eric's bio down. Again, I'm sitting here with Eric Farber, the percussionist for this production that I am doing called Animal Wisdom, a production by music by Heather Christian. And I'm here with Gangstagrass. This is B. Farrow, B. Fiddlin' Farrow. And hi everybody, how you guys doing? I'm looking at the comments. If you're around, leave a comment. Let me know what you're thinking about this conversation. I find this stuff amazing because talking about sound and talking about these different sounds, and one of the biggest things I've seen with Eric and we talked about is telling the story with those sounds. You do in this production, you play along with Heather while she's talking about what's the scene. Can you talk about the scene, because you're playing along with her what she's saying?
The grandmother dream.
Yeah, it's like a percussion recitative. Yeah.
Oh, that's a really great way of phrasing it.
Yeah,
I like that. I love that a lot. I think Heather and I when we started workshopping this in 2017 at the Bushwick Star, which is where it premiered in Brooklyn, New York. We had a whole summer. We had July in the theater, and we spent whole afternoons just musicalizing pieces of text. Actually, I actually just went through voice memos. I told her I went through some voice memos the other day looking for old parts, and I found this thing where actually the outro monologue that she has, the long monologue at the end that we just talked about, we actually musicalized. She wanted that to be a piece of music, so we spent all afternoon really nitpicking, should that be a bar of three? And we would go over the rhythm of her vocals, and she really trusted me, and we really dug deep into we had these words, how do we musicalize it? What's the best way to lay that phrase out? Is it a bar two and a bar three? Is that how are we going to break it up? And working together on that, and it took I have the whole recording of the rehearsal, and then at the very end we bang it out, and it sounds so good. But it got cut, of course, and the way that we do it now is actually way awesomer. So it's just a cool little B-side memento for me. But that was the start of that type of process with Heather, where she would bring in text, and then we would find ways to kind of illuminate that text with percussive underscore. And it's not even really underscore at that point. It ends up being a character in the room, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And kind of changing the idea of what underscore is, because it's certainly not under necessarily. It's supportive of the text, and the text is the primary communication modality, but the percussion is doing so much to flesh out the world, and to make what I call, I have a term for it called slanted associations. It's this thing that when you if I told you hey, be home by 8, and I throw a couple of a bunch of change at you, and or I drop a bunch of quarters on the ground, and you're sort of oh wait, was that supposed to be the sound of keys? They were going to throw me the keys to the apartment, see you later, but they threw me these quarters.
You start to make what that sound is,
and then you instead of if I just throw you the keys and I said see you at 8, it would have been buttoned up and wrapped up, right? And then you'd have been that makes sense. I got the keys. See you at 8.
Yeah.
But because I dropped these, you got the sound of these quarters, and then it's man, that's really that's bugging me. What does that mean? The sound of the quarters. let's see what 8. And then you got to look inside yourself and be like, yeah, what does it mean for me? What's my shit? And like I've got to dig deep into my own psychology and like excavate where that feeling comes from.
There's a part I forget what she's saying, but I'm sure you would know, where you're using I guess these chimes in your hand a little bit, these little bells that have a high pitched sort of tone to them.
Yeah, I have 3 sets of what are like basically really miniature sarna bells on strands, 3 different sizes. Small, medium, large.
And what was she saying under that part? I feel like it was just like her running inside or something about her aunt.
The grandma the night before, it's about the night before her grandmother dies, she had a dream where she woke me up and said, hurry up, put your pants on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hurry up, put your pants on.
Yeah.
On those bells. And we just kind of walk through this. She races me down the stairs. I tell her she's asleep downstairs. I don't know. I don't know.
What's that sound you use when she's running down the stairs?
I ring a bell when she's running down the stairs.
Yeah, for some reason I sit there and imagine feet going down the stairs, like really light, like a tiny person.
Yeah, that sound isn't happening from my end. I think we might have tried that. Like, I think I did tap on the snare drum at one point, and she was like, "No, it's you on the nose." Like I try, it's like we went through process to get to the. And something that Heather has said in an interview once that I loved, which was she said, sometimes if you say just to the left of what you mean, you can evoke incredible feeling. And the thing that the connection that you're trying for with people comes out. And that's why I mentioned the thing with the quarters instead of the keys. It's like, sometimes it's about like, staying just left, and missing the mark a little bit, instead of driving it home or hitting it on the head or hitting it on the nose or whatever terminology you want to use. It's like sometimes like the messiness and the like acceptance of imperfection can be its own channel to cultivate pathways for new meaning and new connections to people who might not expect that sort of worldview and proposal for a future world. Like people are just like bewildered by that, like that I'm making the proposition that we live in a world that is filled with that kind of approach to our stuff.
That's beautiful. It's really in a world where we are becoming more overly homogenized, and we just know so much more about each other and the exportation of cultures, especially of what we do here in America.
I just think this is an example of that.
Yeah, we're sitting here looking at this bowl that's full of these, what did you call these, stick balls?
It's a thing that decorators buy at a place that sells something that's made very cheaply overseas, but is meant to sort of evoke some sort of designer aesthetic in a, not. Well, I mean, it's a nice apartment. This is a nice.
I don't think it's a nice apartment.
It's not that nice. But I mean, any place with a roof is nice.
Yeah. Okay.
And we should be grateful, and that's good. But then we can start chipping away at the aesthetic taste. It's like
I'm thankful I'm here, and I've said thank you to the organizers, Sam, who's been like making sure that we're staying here comfortably.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful. This is in terms of nothing. This is lovely.
But we were talking about this particular set. It's something that you could buy in a place like, let's see, a place like IKEA.
It's IKEA?
It is. I thought, yeah.
And I feel like you could go to Marshalls.
Marshalls?
And get that for
I'm sure you could. Well, but this was made in IKEA. Okay, let's back up a little bit. This was made in Vietnam. It was designed and quality by IKEA of Sweden. Almholt. Okay, so there's lots of different information on the back. What's extraordinary about this piece of
stickball
bowl?
Stickball bowl? It's a stickball bowl. I think that's what we're going to call it.
I mean, it's a bowl with these like ornate balls of stick twineness inside of them, and it's not meant to. You're not supposed to use the bowl really for anything because it's occupied with these things that have really empty space in them.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be a kind of design choice. It's going to occupy this area on this table, which could be used for all sorts of other stuff.
But it's just to make the table not look empty.
Which, I mean, I think the idea just came to me, which is I'm actually kind of grateful for it. It's giving a little color to the room. And what they do know is that we don't live here. Mm-hmm. And so we weren't going to bring our own bowls and like deco stuff. And so it's nice that there's like something in here that's like, some earth tones and kind of some radiance.
I enjoy.
But what we failed to mention is that this very bowl, the very same thing, appears in my apartment across town, like many blocks away. But we're both staying in these kind of rental spots.
Right. It's homogenized.
That the theater provided for us.
It's very nice that we have these places. And I guess it's fine that it's standard, especially for accommodations. But when I see this building, when I see all the glass used, I don't know. I'm really into sustainable architecture and building and sustainable building cultures, and this is not a sustainably thought through place. Especially with, just looking at all the glass that's on the side of this building. It's a concrete building. I mean, I know that stuff is standard, but it doesn't have to be. Doesn't need to be. Anyways, I'm nitpicking a place that I'm thankful for staying in. Anyways.
It's good to be, I think it's always good to question everything. And to also I think there's something about just forming an opinion about anything that helps you crystallize for yourself what your value system is. And so anything, I'm sort of those two, that outlet and that phone jack are not level. I wouldn't have done it like that. This mirror, I hate this mirror. It's round on the top and it's beveled.
Okay.
A beveled mirror is so confusing. By looking at that mirror and then saying I don't like that mirror, and then being like, I never really thought too much about what kind of mirror I do like. I can at least say, well, if I'm going to go out and buy a giant mirror for a wall, it's definitely not going to have bevels. It's definitely not going to be curved at the top because that sucks. And it's not going to be anything like this. And then I can start being like, well, what's the mirror that I would want? And the internet is actually pretty amazing because you can go and find a picture of that. You can look at all those pictures.
And you can find other opinions on it, most likely.
Well, you can find out that that mirror is going to fall apart in a couple of years or whatever.
I guess my point of bringing it up is just I want to advocate for more sustainable building practices, and I don't think we think about it enough because there are people here that live in these places and they invest in these places and buy them. And I mean, I can sit here and rattle off facts about concrete, but we should save that for another time because we're getting far from music, and I don't need to grandstand here, guys. If you want to talk about sustainable architecture or sustainable city planning, that is what I have been putting my head in lately. So
that could be this conversation, man. I can get down on that.
I would rather talk about what a crazy percussionist you are, because
that's fun too.
Yeah, I'd rather get back to that. Eric, would you mind telling me and the crowd how you define what you do?
Percussion seems to be the best word to percuss. Although percussion has such a violent, I think, history. I mean, I have done a lot of work to try to. I mean, the machine that you referenced earlier. I don't know if that was in the conversation or out of the conversation for our.
That was out of the conversation.
Audience.
That was out of the conversation.
That I started to build these like hand cranked percussion machines that did a lot of kind of scraping and shaking and actions that like were maybe less aggressive and trying to find those ways
to still voluminous.
Yeah, you can. Oh yeah, and in particular the hitting, the striking gesture. I spent some time just sort of checking. I was like, wait a minute, like, what are the alternatives to that? Not that I have to never do that again. I love doing that.
Right. I mean, you're doing that.
I'm doing that, but I want to like be aware of that. Like, I think a lot of people don't always fully understand the complete ramifications or like cultural significance of their actions, and a lot of people engage in activities without fully questioning them and questioning what it might trigger in somebody else with a different history than theirs and with a different everything than theirs. You know, it's like we make so many assumptions as human beings.
I think we're getting into a realm here. Have you produced a show that had no striking element to it? And I mean, it almost seems like a therapeutic approach, a music therapy approach to percussion.
When I got my MFA, I did a lot of is more sound installation and sound art work, I guess, than sound as performance.
Okay.
More of a cross between like sculptural installation, and I did a couple of really cool pieces. One which was sort of for me like the height of this non-striking. And sort of like I was just trying to like harness a different energy source than my muscles. I got really into the wind, and I got into weather equipment. And there's a thing called an anemometer, which is just a fan that gets spun by the wind as fast or slower as it goes, and then that gets measured in some way. And there are anemometers that will convert that into a voltage. So the faster it's going or the slower it's going is a higher or lower voltage. And then you can create. I used Arduinos and channeled that into a series of vibration motors. These things are cool. These are motors that are mostly used in industries that are like packaging nails or screws or different kinds of hardware, and they've got to get like 500 screws into a box that's like exactly the size of 500 screws, and they shake them, you know, and like
till they all fall down.
Yeah.
I think they use something similar for aging basses.
Hello, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think that's something or similar technology. There's something where if someone wants to make an upright bass and have an aged sound, they'll put in a contraption that just vibrates it for a while.
Oh, I see. So it gets the kind of wear and tear of having moved forward and backward.
Yeah, the wear and tear of vibrations constantly going.
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful idea.
So it opens up the sound quicker, basically.
Jeez. I didn't know that. Well, I used them to. I collected a bunch of permanent botanicals. You might know them as artificial trees.
Okay.
But
that's a very different way of saying that.
I collected a bunch of those, mostly from like theater, a couple of theater pieces that like sold me their whole collection pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And I collected them, and I got really into the idea of I made these little plywood stages for them that were on springs, and I had 3 of them in different areas around these windows, and one was like up high and 2 were down low, and they were all on springs, and the vibration motors were attached to each piece of plywood, and each one had a corresponding anemometer strapped to the roof on this crazy triangle thing that I built that like attached to this pediment. It was crazy, and then the faster that the wind blew outside the building, the faster these permanent botanicals would shake from the vibration motors on the inside of the building, and it was this incredible rupture between the outside world and the inside world, and
so
what's real and what's fake, and you weren't here. The sound was very slight. The sound was mostly the hum of the motor, which would come on and be like, and sometimes go fast, but it was pretty quiet. They were pretty quiet, and then you would see. It was mostly a visual. You would see the leaves rustle,
but they're rustling with the wind.
With the wind outside, yeah. But you're on the inside of the building, so you're seeing the wind outside. You're seeing the real trees blow with the real wind on the outside of the building through those windows. But it's causing a little bit of a rupture between the outside and the inside, I hope.
I think that's really interesting, especially for, I don't know, environmental reasons, for your indoor environment. And I'm not sure if wind is necessarily healthy for plants, but it definitely creates an effect that the plant life is alive in your space. It's making a noise. Because it's making a noise, you're quicker to acknowledge it.
Yeah, but you can't get that inside. Like your house plants don't get exposed to that variable.
Sad thing about my houseplants, most of them got eaten by my cat.
Oh yeah. I've been there.
Yeah.
You got to keep them really high up, the plants.
I learned. I lost a lot of peas. I lost a lot of peas and chili plants.
Oh, you're growing peas inside?
Just like the sprouts. I'm just getting them like going. The chilies do a lot better. And these are just seeds that I get from food. I put them in the refrigerator for a couple of days and like a paper towel.
Like a wet paper towel?
Yeah.
Like sprout them?
Yeah. This is the germination process. So, and then I just plant those. I just keep seeds around.
I mean, it's so amazing that most of the food that some of us eat can be regrown very easily in our abodes. Celery is a great one.
Yeah.
You ever grow celery?
I have not grown celery yet.
Just drop it in water and it'll just grow from the center. Just keep.
Actually, you know what I've got right now? Lettuce.
Yeah, same thing.
I got these. I've had a.
Oh.
Before I came here, I had a CSA, and I just brought that here with me instead of having to go to the grocery store. So I've got these. Put these in water, and they're drinking.
Those look crazy. What are those?
I think it's just.
It's growing from the inside.
I wonder what sort of lettuce this is. Sorry, guys. We're talking about plants for a second here.
This is exciting. I wish that they could see it.
Yeah, I do too. Yes. So it's this.
Wow.
This one went bad.
I see. Yeah, you already had some root structure there.
Yeah.
I I see. That's great.
Hopefully I can take them.
Do you have where you live? Do you have place to plant stuff? Not like outdoors.
There's a place called the Red Shed Garden, and I use a plot there.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty open.
Community garden.
Yeah, there's starting to be a lot of good community gardens in Baltimore, which is nice.
That's awesome.
I'm happy to have a space at this one. Red Shed Garden. It's the Red Shed Garden. It's on St. Paul in Baltimore. If anybody is listening from the Red Shed Garden, love the Red Shed Garden. Thanks to anybody who's sticking around with us. Thanks for joining us on this discussion. I really enjoy this production that I'm in now, and I was happy to bring Eric over here and just chat for a bit. I know our son is not here this week, but he will be back, and this will be Pharaoh taking his place and just having an interesting conversation. Emily is saying it's super podcasty, and yeah, it's pretty podcasty.
Should we how do we make it less podcasty?
I don't know. You actually have a couple of things in front of you.
Yeah, I've already got a weird assemblage of, and then you brought these plants over here.
Yeah. I've got silverware.
Let's get silverware. Super podcasty. I'm like, is that a dig or is that awesome? I think it's a dig.
I think it's kind of awesome. It might be a dig. This is from Emily, but like, I enjoy it.
Oh, we're peaking.
Oh, we are? Okay. All right. So, if anybody's still listening out there, we're going to play a game of Everything's Percussion. Me and Eric Farber, myself, B. Pharaoh, and Eric Farber, have currently gathered 3 plants, some silverware. I have a, what you call this, a wine glass?
I think that's a port glass.
It's a port glass, okay. A small port glass, but it has a really nice... chime to it. Hurts the hell out of my finger, though. I need something else to play this with.
Yeah.
I wonder what I got. Ooh, I got it. I just found myself a small metal tube. Oh, that's perfect. Now, currently, Eric has a glass bowl and a water canteen.
And the floor.
And of course, the floor. Now, the great thing about Eric, he's really great at using all these interesting tools to create dope rhythms and dope beats. Now I'm gonna go find something else for Eric and see what he can do with it. currently we have gathered that laminate wood bowl that we were talking about earlier. We have a laminate wood bowl. We have a saucepan. We have a canteen resonated by a glass bowl, and also the glass bowl and feet. I'm gonna leave a metal spoon for some different tones for Eric. Let's see what happens there. Oh. I've got a cardboard box. Oh, did we break it?
It's good. It's okay though because it's got the balls. We'll put the balls. Nobody. No one's ever gonna know that.
Yeah, no one's gonna. So
unless they're listening on the radio.
If the Bazzuto Corporation is listening, first of all, flattered. Second of all, sorry. So we just the laminate bowl, not the glass bowl.
No. The glass Pyrex bowl is totally good.
Yeah, the Pyrex bowl we could probably let drop off of this.
I mean, listen to that. Listen to this. I mean, that's pretty good. This is made in probably like the last couple of years. It's not like terribly thick. And you can tell that like the thinness of the bowl itself, like think of this as a bell.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the lip is fairly thick so that it will you could pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
But this part is like actually pretty thin.
The inside part?
Yeah. But you know those like I should have brought like those. I mean you can't. I bet if you threw it, it would probably not break because it's Pyrex. But like I've got some metal bowls, like some metal bunt pans from like the 40s, 50s.
Bunt pans?
Bunded pans.
Well, how are they shaped?
Bunded pans. You know they're like they've got these funny shapes on the outside, like kind of you can make this kind of like Christmas nut cake kind of thing, hollow in the center, those kinds of things. And when you hold it by the center part and you hit it on the outer bell, it's a great. You heard? I think I played it for you, right? It's like that sort of like.
Yeah. It's a crazy sound.
It's a crazy sound, and they don't make things like that anymore, you know.
Yeah.
So when you buy I'm curious to see what the difference is between that short. I mean, it's a pitch, but it's not long. And then if we found some Pyrex bowls from the 50s or the 60s.
Yeah. Those would probably ring.
Yeah.
I wonder why, though. Maybe, is it possibly just the consistency of the shape? Because you're hitting this on the thick rim, right? So maybe, see if I can get this. It's still short. Yeah, it's a really high, tinny thing.
And most glass is pretty short, but you can find some glass that's a thicker pour. I mean, think about like you know, most bowls you can think of as bells.
Yeah.
And a lot of them suck, but
yeah.
Some of them are awesome. And like, why are some of them awesome and not? It's, you know, manufacturing processes. Some of it is like about the EPA. It's like the EPA changed the way that cymbals can be made.
Really?
Yeah.
What were cymbals made out of before?
I don't know. I know that cymbals made after the 1970s, you know, have some different regulation about them that had to change in their manufacturing processes that people talk about, and I think that's probably similar to, you know, to other things that are made. And one way that I look at the world that I got to be born in is that there's so many treasures still. You know, I think in 500-600 years, there's not going to be as many of these sorts of treasures. Even when you just think about the golden age of cymbal manufacturing, it's really in the last 150 years.
That's a niche history. Like who in like 100, 200 years is going to be like, yo, look at these cymbals. I mean, it's. I mean, you could probably find possibly 200-year-old cymbals. They probably won't play for shit and might be rusted all to hell or might already be disintegrated.
Well, I've got some incredible singing bowls that are around that age. That are, deeply resonant. And I actually have this. It's a 22-inch singing bowl from Nepal.
That's quite something.
It's the size of a bass drum. It's incredible. And when
you use it like a bass drum,
I won't ever use it in a setting I won't ever use it in any setting other than my own home, because it was probably pillaged from some place that it shouldn't have been pillaged from. I don't know its history. I don't exactly know where it emerged from. I found it at a place called Brimfield, which is one of the world's largest antique flea market spots out of Massachusetts that I go to every once in a while, and I saw it and I hit it, and it's so big and massive, and yet it's probably at least 5/16 inch thick, maybe 3/8 inch thick, and it giant singing bowl, and when you hit it and you find the nodal point, you can see it moving in all the different nodal points, and it actually has 7 sounds. It's supposed to have 7 metals and 7 series of nodal points, and you can find it. You can hit it in a certain way, and you'll get this like and you hit it another way to get more like a ba, and you can kind of hear these different fundamentals coming out of it. I once had a friend really geek out on it and try to find all the microtonal. He's like, oh yeah, I hear like a kind of someplace it's like kind of like a G. It's not really a G flat, but it's like a. He's like trying to pick it out. He has a much better ear than I do. But yeah, I was blown away by the fact that you could see. It was like you could see the nodal points visually on such a thick piece of metal.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But it has such a. It likely has such a religious history that I don't fully understand as a white person who grew up in New Jersey.
Have you asked anybody Tibetan?
I've done a little bit of research on it. I have a few bowls that I've found in situations like that came out of collectors' homes. And who like probably died, and then their estate goes to or you get a junk person to the family just doesn't know what it's worth, and they
that's how I got 2 of my fiddles.
Oh really?
Yeah. I'll show you them now. Actually,
well, while B's getting the fiddles, I'll say that there is something. I was talking about bowls and bells, I think anything can be magical if you kind of take the care to produce it well. So some things are produced to be disposed of pretty quickly, and some things are produced to last a long time. And if they're produced to last a long time, then you can hit the crap out of them over and over and over again, and they will be reliable. And right now, B is bringing out a couple of fiddles.
Yeah, I feel the same way about instruments.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I had a Stratocaster.
Whoa.
It was just a bullet Strat. It wasn't like crazy great or anything. Cheap Squire Stratocaster, and it was I didn't like it for the longest time, but eventually it was the only thing I could play, so I played it. And eventually I I took a hammer to it. I let friends carve their names in it. Like, this is the guitar I experimented on.
I took a hammer to it.
Yeah. What you looking for?
It's all good.
Oh,
Boom.
cool. What was I saying? I was looking for. I was just looking for different bits and bobs to add to this guitar. So, like, I beat it up. I put stickers on it, bands that I like. Friends carved their name into it. I experimented with like different string heights. I like just did everything to this guitar. Like, I really. Eventually, I just got to know it, and I got to just set it up well, and it was still working, and it was still working very well, and it eventually got a really unique tone to it.
Yeah.
And I really missed the tone, but unfortunately, my house flooded when I was younger, and I lost the guitar.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
That's gone.
yeah, it's just like on a junk pile, broken to pieces.
Yeah. Floods are devastating. I've been there.
Yeah. What have you lost? Not to put tears in your eyes.
I lost some. I had a cardboard box of all my childhood drawings.
Yeah.
And I actually, it was like all the, like pretty much, like my mom would just like kind of save all the kind of weird artwork that I did as a kid.
Yeah.
And actually, it was just all in one cardboard box and all paper, of course. And it all soaked up, like wicked it all up. So it was all wet. And I tried to save it, and I hope I did. I still don't know. I'm like, I smell it every once in a while. I'm like,
wait, is it just like in another box somewhere?
Yeah. Well, I spread it out. The place got like remediated with like crazy HEPA fans and all that shit.
Yeah.
And so I on the whole floor I like spread out every piece of it.
Yeah.
On another like a roll out paper and dried it over like for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I got to like look at it all. It just stayed out, and some of it I actually like. There were these pieces of paper that were like giant pieces of paper that were folded up, and so I would open them up, and there was these giant weird abstract paintings that I did as a kid. They were all like different colors and kind of beautiful. I sort of love them, and I'm glad that I got to save it.
That's beautiful. I go through when I moved. I went through a couple old pictures that my mom had saved of mine. Nothing like I wasn't an artist or anything. I had like 3-4 drawings that I could really enjoy that I've done.
Mm-hmm. And she saved them from that flood.
She didn't. Well, yeah, actually, yeah, that came with us. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
So they might have gotten wet and then they got dried, you think, or?
I think this particular one might have been framed. It might have been framed, so it was fine.
Nice.
Yeah. That one and some other like sketch drawings I did. I feel like there was a point where I could have gotten into it.
Into drawing.
Yeah. I guess I decided I didn't have the patience to really sit down for 3 hours to create something.
Well, but do you do that with music?
I do, so I don't know. I don't know why.
But let's think about that. I mean, it's like you said something to create something, and so it's like, I just wonder, like, in your psychology, like, do you feel like there's something maybe like more freeing about the thing that music is, rather than like the something of the, if you were going to be a still life painter or a line drawing kind of person?
I think whatever I'd have to say, I could find an analogous in like other types of fine arts, but I didn't see it in them when I was younger. So like with my bass, I like to sort of meander around chords and just listen for sounds, try different shapes, try different progressions, and I feel like that. I like that meandering, that impermanent meandering. And I think that's something special with music that I can do.
And yeah, maybe like you almost, I mean, maybe it's it's like because it's so ephemeral and disappears, you can meander. Whereas like if you're a sculptor and you're dealing with like marble, like you better not meander too much because like that's expensive. Or if you're making film in the if you're Stanley Kubrick and you're making films and and like you're actually on film, that's expensive.
Yeah.
Or if you're rolling 2-inch reel in a recording studio.
Yeah.
Hard to meander.
You can't meander in those instances, but with just an inch.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
no, it was a stroke of genius. Please, cheer.
No, I had this epiphany a long time ago, but it's also about meandering around software. And like when I was talking about my MFA thesis and like installing those trees and stuff, I had to kind of get into Arduino stuff and code and software-y things. And when I had like sort of like long ago sworn off electricity of any kind, because I just always a long time ago I got into like making my own like home studio, and then it very quickly got outdated, and I got sort of locked out of my hardware because I upgraded one thing and then it didn't read the other thing, and then the plugins didn't work on my thing, and so then it just like I felt so alienated from my own craft, and I said, I just want to be able to do my craft on a desert island or in the middle of I'll probably never really be on a desert island to do that, but in the middle of the jungle or off the grid or without software updates, and feel like I am in charge of my own craft and not beholden to Avid or Apple or any of these companies that make you kind of subscribe to be an artist for the equipment. I was like I'm gonna determine what the equipment is, and not even Guitar Center is gonna tell me what the equipment is. I'm gonna find it. In fact, and it's not even the antique market. It's like I source a lot of things from my own family. I was telling you the other day, I made another show that I'm doing with Heather. I made a table out of this TV stand that my mother watched the Beatles on Ed Sullivan on. Has some history, so I like to share those sorts of personal things for the sake of the storytelling,
That's one of the first conversations we had was about your percussion and all the different pieces you have and being connected to family and how you tell your story that way.
For sure. Yeah. So I think that all fits in nicely with Heather's thing. The thing that I wanted to share about sort of like meandering is that I discovered with software that you can't meander. Like you can't, if you make a mistake in software, very, very rarely will it reap some kind of happy accident in a kind of Bob Ross way. It just stops work. It just doesn't work. And so I found that that was a discovery that I made. I was like, oh, let me get the software and you can do so many things. And then I learned that messy play that I thrive in, and can make discoveries inside of, because I'm just being me inside of a mess that I orchestrated for myself to play in.
And then you'll probably get some sort of order from that. You get order from the mess.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Tons of order, because I'm spreading that order around the stuff. I'm a lot like a puppeteer, having control over a proxy of my own body outside of myself, in front of myself, to present in front of myself, and hide behind. Zoom. The moral of the story is just that there's so many avenues. There's so many avenues that you can go down in this world that don't allow for that kind of play. And computer programming seems, at least from my end, to be one of them. But so is like insurance salesman and retail guitar store clerk. Oftentimes, they've got the game so mapped out for you that when you get there, you get a book of how it's going to go.
Right.
And then you just got to roll by that. And we've got the same thing. I mean, we work at a theater. I broke the rules, I guess, today somehow. I had some kind of interaction with somebody that was like officially against their playbook, and they called me.
It was a COVID protocol thing. I don't think it was bad to call out someone about COVID protocols.
Right. But still, I had to sort of bend to the corporate infrastructure of the institution at which we are presenting our artwork.
Yeah.
So that you can't escape from that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to pretend that working at Guitar Center is bad in any way. I mean, I think that people have to do what they've got to do in the world, but I think it's important to keep an eye out for the systems that are actively trying to prevent you from finding a state of free play.
I guess I love that about sitting down with the bass. It is sitting down with an instrument. It's that time for free play, for just whatever.
See, but can I respond to that?
Sure. I
have problems in your world. I feel like oftentimes it's there's the joke about the drummer hanging out with the musicians,
Yeah.
Just wanting to hang out with the musicians. I often feel like I have a totally different craft than most people that I'm collaborating with to make music. And
we've said this, but I have said this before.
Mm-hmm.
You're an odd bird, and there's nothing wrong with that. The best wines are going to be harder to get
and rarer.
Yeah.
Fewer and far between. I'll take that. I'm a good wine, even though I'm allergic to wine. But
this wine is so good, it's allergic to itself, and that enhances the flavor.
I had no idea. For sure, but I often feel like, I guess what I was saying is that I feel like the system,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I really get to free play.
Mm-hmm.
You all are I look at y'all, I'm like, you guys are E flat, F, B, D, B, C, and I'm like, how do you guys escape from that system?
I don't think there's that much of a difference, because it's more. I think of it more as pattern.
True.
And that's a percussionist way of thinking. You think in patterns?
I do, but I also think in lost objects. I think it's like I feel like I can see an orphan out in the world who doesn't have some parents or doesn't have a place to be, and I'm like, oh, you bell friend, you weird bowl friend, you strange piece of metal that fell off of the side of a truck, you strange chains that came off of the tow truck, you weird,
I don't get that sort of open-ended discovery on my instrument.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's the thing about percussion. It's there's a great quote by John Cage: the strings in the orchestra want to become more of what they are, but the percussion wants to become other than what it is.
My teacher in high school said once, I was hitting a chair, and I was like, do you hear that tone? Because I heard the tone, the chair had a tone.
Mm-hmm.
I think every object that carries a pitch, even that, if you really want to analyze it, that has a frequency, that has a pitch. It is, it's a vibrating body. Every vibrating body has to have pitch, because that is how we make music. We use vibrating bodies, thin vibrating bodies, but even a thick vibrating body has a tone. So he told me it doesn't have a tone. I'm like, no, man, crazy. I hope you're not telling other people this.
He said the couch didn't have a tone.
No, the chair. The chair is
chair.
tapping. And it's just the chairs don't have tones. And I'm like, I'm sorry, dude.
What?
I could have sat there and tried to explain my reasoning with them, but it's just no. Gonna let you be wrong. I think I talked to him later about it, and I still think he's no, it didn't have a tone that we could perceive, maybe, but I feel that's perceptible. If you hear it, it's perceptible.
Yeah, and maybe maybe it's denser and messier than your expectation of what a tone ought to be.
Right.
But maybe your expectation of what a tone ought to be is problematic, and you should check that out.
Random side idea. What if there was an object that vibrated at a frequency that we couldn't hear, and when you hit it, there was no noise that we could perceive?
I mean, it is remarkable that, like, it's incredibly rare that you come across something that you can't hear.
Right.
I mean, I'm grateful that I have the sense of hearing, so I should check that and realize that some people who don't have the sense of hearing.
But they have a sense of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That just came to mind, like
Mm-hmm.
deaf concerts where they just, like, they love Calvin Harris because the bass and the music, and they feel that.
Wow.
So vibration is still perceived. Vibration is, like,
Absolutely.
I think in our realm of consciousness, even with all animals, it's how we perceive our present.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess explain our present, perceive and explain our present. I don't know. Both of those.
It's extraordinary that sound travels slower than light. And I think about that sometimes. And I think about the difference between feeling music and reading music and light and sound. And I once had an epiphany playing in a theater piece with a new bass player with music that, different theater piece, music that I had played many, many times. And so, like, the thing that we're working on, like, I'll just close my eyes and I don't need a chart or a music stand. I'm just gonna close my eyes and go into the music and feel it with my body. And when I perform with my whole body. When I was in jazz school, I was performing with my whole body in a class, and one of the older students, he came up to me and he said, "Hey, come to my practice room. Let me school you a little bit." And I went up. I was eager to learn. I was like, "Great." And he was like, "When you're playing, you keep moving from your waist." And he's like, "Don't do that. It's a waste of energy. Just move. Just keep your waist straight, or keep your whole torso straight, perpendicular to your legs, and just move with your arms. Just like kind of from here, from your shoulders." And I was like, "Okay, thanks for the advice." And I went home and I thought about my style and how I play. And I was like, no. My whole body, my whole self is keeping time.
Yeah.
And then there are all these little fulcrums off of that are, but the waist is actually the big gear.
Yeah.
I felt I was like, no, he's wrong. And it crystallized for me. I was like, I'm a mover.
I mean, that's the style of play, and I've seen it where you guys are just...
Yeah, especially with like kind of an orthodoxy of jazz musicians.
But then it's
about that kind of deep control.
I feel like those guys, don't you see Tony Williams? He had movement to him when he was playing.
Elvin Jones.
There you go.
Elvin Jones, for me, I was like, and I got to see Elvin at the Blue Note a bunch of times, actually, it's a really great story where I saw him at the Blue Note and I was standing in line to greet him, and it was his 72nd birthday at the Blue Note.
Wow.
And I was standing in line to greet him, and I was in jazz school at the time. I took the train down from SUNY Purchase to get into the city and see him, and the concert was great. And he's getting old, but they're doing 2 sets a night, and so he's got to go upstairs and eat dinner, and then he's got a late set, and they'll probably whatever. I mean, they'll jam after. He's got a long night. He's 72.
Right.
It's his birthday, or at least it was that week. And I'm waiting in line to shake his hand, and the guy in front of me is about my age, and he goes, and he's a white kid, and I can tell he's like me, studying jazz music. He's like, "Mr. Jones, oh, it's so great to meet you. I just wanted to say that it's just so great to meet you, and I've just wanted to meet you. Oh, you don't even know, since I was a little kid, and this is just so great to meet you." And I was standing kind of listening to him do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute. the guy wants to go eat his dinner, and like he doesn't need another person to come, another like 19-year-old kid to say what this person is saying, and like kind of turn him into a bit of a museum. Yeah. I was like, he already gave me the thing.
Yeah.
I just heard him play, and I like was standing. I was next in line, and I like was listening to this guy wrap up, and I just split. I was like, I don't actually want to do that to him.
Yeah.
I want him to be one person closer to eating his dinner and chilling out. And I'm gonna get on the subway. I'm gonna split.
I got a similar story to that. I was at like some college fair when I was younger. My mom had taken me to it. I think it was either a college or jobs fair, and I was just looking around at colleges, and I was like not really interested at the time. Like I had no idea what I really wanted to get into yet. So I was just at this college fair, and apparently Common was there.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I don't know. It was really just like a gymnasium. So when they're like, Common's here, I'm like, Common's here?
What was Common repping?
I think he was just encouraging people to like look at the schools and like.
Oh, he wasn't from a particular school. He was he was there kind of generally being like, school. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
I dig that.
He was just about to go, and my mom was just like, no. My son loves Common. And moves everybody out of the way. God bless my mom. She's wonderful. And she puts me right in front of Common, and she talks to the manager lady like, he's huge. He needs to be talking to Common.
Oh my God.
And I see Common, and he looks tired.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey man, big fan. I know you gotta go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's the move.
Yeah.
That's the move.
And just let him get out of there. Just shook his hand, and he was just like, I see you need to do your thing. I'm sorry. It's my mom.
Yeah.
I'm glad she did this.
Yeah. Thanks for the music.
Yeah.
I've already got the thing.
But yeah.
That's true. I mean, but also, I feel like I've also had like genuine conversations with famous people and like talked to them about their craft. Mm-hmm. And they were actually like in a different environment.
Yeah.
You know?
When you get to some of the greats around to just talk, it's beautiful. In Living Color.
Yeah.
Vernon Reid guitars.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that?
John Hodgman had like a secret show thing, and for a couple of years I'd get invited to it, and like he's invited me to like play music for Judge John Hodgman, and one night for a secret show, we were just after the show hanging out backstage. I was there with Don Flemons. I played with him for a while.
Right.
And
you're playing upright?
Yeah. Upright and a bit of fiddle.
And fiddle.
And we go backstage, and Vernon Reid's just there talking to John Hodgman about H.P. Lovecraft and how racist H.P. Lovecraft is. And I'm just like, of course I'm going to just sit here and listen.
Yeah, I'm not going to go home right now.
Right. And John was just like, let's all go out for drinks, and this continued. And it was wonderful. It was beautiful.
Like small group? Just a couple of you?
I think total about 6 or 7 people maybe.
Yeah,
a small group of people. It was nice. John Hodgman's actually really good about like, hey, let's go have a drink, and it's always a good time. It's hard to find people that are wholesome drinkers.
I'm not one anymore. I used to be. I haven't had a drink in over 10 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's not the kind of feat that I don't know. I explain my feelings around getting congratulated around that, but I guess I just I wasn't trying to give it up like that. I just it's a migraine trigger for me.
Yeah.
But I always felt like I was a good drunk, but maybe not. I was in a band called the Lisps for a long time, and that was the band that wrote that show Futurity that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And in that band, and that was sort of like my entry into theater a little bit. At the time, I was also working a lot in the burlesque circuit, and doing like working at the Freak Show in Coney Island and touring with different kind of like joining the circus, and this rock band that I was playing in, more of like a kind of vaudeville folk act.
Yeah.
The Lisps. We would be kind of like pretty performative on stage, and we would like have a song where we would sort of wrestle each other, and another song where we just had like little gags and costumes and kind of specific visuals and
a combination
storytelling,
of like theater and music, of course.
Yeah, and that was sort of the entry point for me.
I'm sorry, musical theater. Not necessarily.
I mean, we ended up like writing a bunch of musicals together.
Well, there we go.
And they did pretty well, and we got to do them for a while. And Cesar Alvarez, who's the main composer from that band, is somebody that I still collaborate with a lot. And so that, yeah, I mean, that work has been super fruitful and fun. I don't recall why I started talking about the Lisps. I'm sure there was a reason. Where were we on before that?
Oh, man, damn it! I really just like going down the road of it.
We were going down the road, and then we got to the Lisps. And I think I just wanted to talk about like storytelling and theater, and
that was much earlier.
Maybe that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, here we are, folks. We're at a dead end after a long time cul-de-sac of it was a slippery slope to the end of the continent. But before we get here, we came from out of some uterary device that spawned us, and most of us.
Actually, this production, Heather Christian's Animal Wisdom.
That's the spawn. That's the universe.
I am unfortunately looping it back to that because maybe we should hop off the stream pretty soon because it's been a good hour of chatting, and yeah, let's take it offline. Hey y'all, this is B Pharaoh filling in for our son, the voice of reason. Just wanted to have a conversational evening with my pal here, Eric Farber, a wonderful percussionist who is I've met during this production of Heather Christian's Animal Wisdom, which we are filming right now, which looks to be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful film. If you want to check out bits and bobs of it and post of it, follow me at BeFarrow, BeFarrow, and you can follow Eric at the Curious Jellyfish.
Curious Jellyfish.
Curious
on
underscore
Instagram.
Curious_jellyfish.
Or my website is kineticontology.com.
Again, that's kineticontology.com. Just so you have it, and quick update with the band for anybody who's still here. If you haven't heard, we recently did a song about pie that got launched into the sky and is now on Mars, being played on the Mars rover. So if you are in the neighborhood and you hear a crazy tune with a crazy banjo lick at the end that somehow indicates pi numerically with musical notes, that's Gangstagrass. That's Gangstagrass. Danjo hooked it up on that lick, and yeah, this is B Pharaoh of Gangstagrass signing out for the evening. Thanks for joining us. And
wait, B, what if we just play like a little outro music?
A little outro music?
I bet we could do it.
Let's see.
Oh, look at that thing is great. What? You were gonna sign off? I bet you confused some of the people and they actually left, and then now this is like that hidden track on the no alternative record. This is before you were younger than me. Yeah. The no alternative record has a great secret track. I think it says like a no. Isn't it verse chorus verse?
There's also something at the end of a musical Soul Child record where he has 15 minutes of silence, and at the end there's a little extra. I think there's a whole extra song. feel so grateful that you would put your ears my way when it's been a long day. I feel so glad, oh, this time I've had. If I get a chance to do it again, I swear I will always be a friend.